Prior to the advent of social media and the internet, Americans were the least informed consumers of news in the world. I still think that's true. I learned this, when I used to travel out of the country, you'd see news in other countries and say, my gosh, I had no idea this was going on. Americans get stuff about, entertainers and this and that and garbage and distractions, but real news, we miss a lot of it. And right now, this farming protest that began in the Netherlands some months ago and then went on to Germany here more recently, well, it's in Paris, France this morning. And my next guest, Jim Ferguson, has been following it closely. He started the Freedom Train International. He's live in London right now. Jim, good to have you here. Thank you for stopping in.
Good morning, Steve. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me on.
So you've been all over Europe. You've been to France. You've been to Germany. You've been to the Netherlands. But this farmer revolt, if you will, and they're revolting against higher prices. They're revolting against this cult mentality of climate change. Oh, to feed the people, we must ruin farms, which makes, really, John Kerry, get rid of farms. And by the way, John Kerry made his fortune, well, he married into it, but that fortune for Heinz came where? From farming, ironically. What are you seeing there, Jim? What are you seeing up close? And what's happening in Paris right now?
Effectively, they're talking about Paris being under siege. That's how severe this is. The anger that's building in Paris right now. And you've got to remember that the president of Paris is Emmanuel Macron. He is a globalist. He is a member of the World Economic Forum. He is the same as John Kerry and Biden. He's the same as Sunak in the UK, Trudeau in Canada. Wherever you find these globalists, they're not putting their national citizens first. They're putting their globalist agendas first. And they're attacking farmers all around the world. And we've heard John Kerry talking about this. He's wanting to get rid of all the farmers. He says they're the problem. Climate change, net zero, too much carbon. But actually, Steve, you and I are the carbon they want to reduce. It's very concerning to see what's happening.
Exactly
France
right.
is about to erupt.
I mean, if we're going to talk math, carbon dioxide, the gas of life is what it is. It creates life. In abundant carbon dioxide creates more life. Everybody, a first grade science student understands that. But if you actually believe that it's climate change inducing, agriculture in America, the number one producer of food in the world is America. Less than 1.4% of all that gas, that climate change gas, comes from farming in America. Yet they want to destroy American farms too. But we see this pushback, and this is significant. And it really picked up speed in Germany when they said, we're not going to pay higher prices for diesel. We're not going to get insulted and pay higher taxes. We're not going to let our farms get destroyed in the Netherlands. And they got joined by Polish farmers and Lithuanian farmers and now French farmers. This has become a worldwide movement, hasn't it?
Well, it's thanks to independent media like you and others that we're actually finding out about this, because the globalist media, the mainstream media that are bought and paid for by the likes of Bill Gates, George Soros and the others, are not reporting it. And it's very interesting, Steve, because thousands of Germans have gone to a mainstream media outlet yesterday to protest that they weren't giving fair and good coverage of what was going on. And just today I reported that the same thing is now happening in Poland. People know that they're being controlled and manipulated by big media. And the only true media that's really getting the truth out now is independent media like us. So it's a big, big story. And I think people are waking up all around the world because they've tried to silence it and they've tried to stop it going international. I believe it's now starting to happen in the States. I've seen the truckers heading to the Texas state border. In their thousands. I reported on that yesterday as well. People have had enough. Steve, I think we're witnessing something on a global awakening that's taking place. And it's great to see people are actually standing up and pushing back against these globalist policies.
Well, and I agree, Jim, and it's people like you with the Freedom Train International that have set this ball in motion. I want to ask you about something here. Public enemy number one, Elon Musk. Right? Elon Musk had the nerve to spend $44 billion to set Twitter free. Named it X, that's fine. But that's all part of this movement. You see people like Elon Musk, Tucker Carlson, you and I, other people, working very hard to get the truth out to as many people as possible. And I think it's making a difference. I think what we're doing here is making a difference because people are seeing Paris. They're seeing what's happening in Germany. They're seeing what's happening in Texas. They're seeing what's happening to Justin Trudeau in Canada. The truth is getting out because of social media and people that are willing to put their necks out a little bit. Well, like you and I, like I said, it's important, isn't it?
It is. And 12 months ago, I decided I wasn't just going to talk about it, because I have been, and I am, and I still continue to talk, but I decided to actually do something as well. And I actually spoke to a lot of people in America. I reached out to people in the States. I was actually over in the United States across 8 different states about 3 months ago on a series of speaking engagements from North Dakota all the way down to Alabama. And then I went to Canada. And I marched with the freedom movement and those that were in the leadership, like Tamara Lich, like Chris Barber, and many others in Ottawa itself. I decided to start a freedom movement called Freedom Train International, and it's modeled a little bit like the Tea Party movement in the United States. We're not so much politically motivated, although I would say I'm definitely right of centre, but we are engaging with people. We now have representation and thousands of members all around the world. We have people from the United States, Canada, the UK, Holland, Germany, France, Australia, New Zealand, and we're just about to appoint people from Sweden and Poland onto the ranks. So we are gaining a big momentum, and essentially we are a resistance movement. We are the global resistance, and we're looking for partners. We're looking for people to join us, not just as individuals, but as businesses, because the fight is intense, and we've got really a massive resource that's there for people. If you log into freedomtraininternational.org, you will see exactly
it's a rejection.
Who we are.
Yeah, and it's right there. We had it on the screen for those of the folks watching at home. Freedom Train International. It is a rejection of the World Economic Forum. It is a rejection of the World Health Organization. It is a rejection of the globalists that gathered last week in Davos, Switzerland. It's a rejection of the idea that you will own nothing and you'll be happy and you'll do as you're told and you'll keep your mouth shut. Otherwise, there'll be consequences. It's a rejection of that entire mentality, isn't it, Jim?
It absolutely is, Steve. And, we're partnering with other media outlets and independent sources all across the world. We're also gaining a lot of traction in South America. Brazil and Argentina are showing a huge interest in what Freedom Train is doing. But people are saying, we've had enough being bullied and told what to do by these unelected bureaucrats. Klaus Schwab, who's the unelected chairman of the World Economic Forum, telling us we have all got to eat insects and stop eating meat. I mean, it's absolutely bizarre. It's time for people to rise and say peacefully, we do not comply. We're not going to do this any longer. And, I love the American people. I was across there. I met many hundreds of American people there. And let's not forget my Scottish ancestry. I'm a Scottish Highlander, and I know that many of my people went to the United States and settled down there. So there's a huge bond between Britain, Scotland, and America, as well as other nations. And I'm very grateful, Steve, to engage with you. I've followed you a long time. You do some amazing reporting. And it's great to be on your show with you.
Well, I appreciate it, Jim. I think my favorite thing that I've seen so far, I've seen this in a variety of places, is the spreading of manure on government buildings. Nothing could be more apropos than the spreading manure where they're spreading manure on a daily basis. All right, guys, here's what I want you to do. I want you to follow Jim Ferguson on X, at Jim Ferguson UK. If you want to see what's happening, he's one of the key people to stay in touch with and watch, because he's delivering the goods every day. I think you're going to be on your way to France here, Jim, pretty soon. I appreciate you coming in. I'd like to have you back early next week to see what happens over the weekend. But Godspeed, my friend. Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much indeed, Steve, and I very much appreciate it. We'll speak soon.
Thank you very much. There you have it. All right, so Paris right now, as he was telling us, and been watching the video on his feed this morning, Paris filling up with tractors, locking the place down. It's going to come to a standstill, grinding halt here shortly. Jim Ferguson. All right, so after the break, back to your phone calls. What do you make of that? 877-310-9966. 877-310-9966. Free for all Friday. I'll be back.